Hi guys, it's Keith with Arkenberg Farms. It's winter time, so it's time to build stuff. So right now, I've been working on a vacuum seeder and a matching dibbler. Got it over here in the prop house. And then the dibbler board. Let me show you how I did it. Here is a list of the materials and tools needed to build this. So one thing I didn't include on here is a hammer and a small shop vac. This will be my vacuum seeder plate. And then my deep trays that came from Bootstrap Farmer. The reason I'm using these is because they're really thick, really durable, and I think they'll hold up a lot better when they have a vacuum force on them. I was trying to implode these. Let me take you to the build. To start, I started the process similar to the way Darren Hampton created his dibbler, which is on this side. That's 200. I'm going to do a 98 cell on this side. Cut this out 10.5 by 20 3/4. Then I got the plug tray I'm going to use, which is a 98 cell. You flip it over, then you go along, and you eyeball where these ridges are, and you make a mark down on the front of the board, all the way around. So all four sides, that way you have reference marks to draw your grid out. From there, use double-sided tape. Use my 20 1/4 by 10 inch. This is a piece of aluminum. It is 0.025 inches thick. I got this from Metal by the Foot. You could also use a coil used for flashing or trim. It's a little bit thinner. It's 0.019, but that's what I made the first one out of, and it worked. I'm going to put tape on the back of my vacuum seeder plate, and then I line it up centered on what's to be my dibbler board. You can measure it out if you want to be a little bit more exact. This has worked for me so far. Next, we have to reference what is going to be the front. So I put a mark on the front of my board of what's going to be the front of the dibbler. You got it on both sides. For both sides, you got 200 on one side, and the 100 is going to be on this side. Then put a mark in the top left corner, because this is going to be the face of your vacuum plate to match the dibbler. That way any errors that go through when you drill the holes here later will be repeated in both objects. So when we're done, we'll have the seeder facing us with front written on it. It'll flip over to drop the seed. The dibbler will be turned this way with the front facing us, and it'll go down to produce our holes. This is the most important part of this process, because if you do not remember to index your board on the front here and your plate on the back, it will not line up when you put everything together. I actually twisted this down, or twisted it around while I was making this, and had to go through and do some editing and reshoot this section because of this. So we'll just go on from here. As I build this, I will get little errors from where I drill the holes at, and also nailing down the dibblers onto the board will give me some errors too. So from here, pretty simple. Just go across, line up my 2 marks, and I'll draw a line. I'll continue this all the way across this way and then this way, and then I'll proceed to drill my holes. Now that I have my grid lines drawn out all the way across it, I'm sure how well you can see those, I'm going to go through and drill a 1/16 inch hole at every intersection. That's where my dibblers will go, and that's where the vacuum seeder will pick up the seed. So I just go through, find my intersection, and just drill it far enough to get through the piece of aluminum and make a reference mark in the wood material. Now I'll continue this all the way across and do the rest of the holes. Now I got everything drilled, I can remove the plate from the board. I get my tray, which will be the body of the vacuum seeder. Do a test fit. Try to keep it up as far as you can. Make sure it's about even down all the way around. And I'll make a mark. Turns out this one is about 1 3/4 inch tall, so I cut a guide off of my extra metal. I can go ahead and check it, make sure it eyeballs out to my pencil mark, which it does. The reason I made this is I'll have my outside tray and I'll use an inside tray and I'll trim it to this height. That way I'll have a lip inside of this. It'll be down here that'll give some backing to the actual seed plate. So for this, I'll just set it on a flat surface, mark my line all the way around, and I'll cut it with a piece of snips. Now it helps to do this is if you cut out this outside lip, that way it's not in your way. But I'll go ahead and get my marks all the way around and cut this off. Now with the pair of snips, just follow my line all the way around. These are the best tool I've found for this because it enables me to make a more precise cut than trying to use an X-Acto knife. And the plastic on these trays is pretty darn thick. That's the thickness of these Bootstrap Farmer trays. They're really durable. So I'll just continue my way around. So we have our perimeter backing plate complete, cut off all the way around. Now we need to make some interior backing pieces. Use another piece of cut off metal, take it, line it up on the side. I'll draw a pencil mark across here and then cut it about a 1/16 inch shorter so it is short enough so when the two plates come together and they suck together, it's not going to be bowing up the top. We now have all the pieces made and it's time for assembly. We're going to take our cut off tray, seat it down inside of our full tray all the way down. Take our interior backing plates, they're bent in a V shape, we'll place those in the middle, about a third from each side with the V's pointing inwards. Go through, we're going to assemble with a hot glue gun. Make sure to get hot glue that will work with plastic and metal. Go around, glue both sides. From there, we'll get our seed plate, put it in, pull it tight between your hand and your body to keep it tight on both sides, and we'll just put tack spots of hot glue in a couple different spots all the way around. After those have set, we'll lay a full bead all the way around the perimeter of this tray, making sure to hold the tip directly down on the metal. This way it'll ensure that the hot glue will actually go down below it as well to get a better grip on it. From there, We'll turn it around, find our front, have it facing towards us. Now this will determine where our hole is going to go for the hose for our vacuum seeder. I'm going to put mine on the left side in the back because I'm left-handed. That just makes it easier for me to work with because it'll be over there. You could also place it on the front as well if you want to flip back the other direction. Get this assembled and I'll show you how it works. But first, let's finish up the dibbler tray. Got gray wire nuts. They are 22 by 16 gauge. I'm using 3D finish nails, which is 3 penny, and they're 1.25 inches long. I'll just line it up where I want it, take my nail, center it on it, tap it to get it started until the spring pops through. After that, I use the claw of my hammer, run the spring over it, and it pops right out. From here, just get it a little bit further so it's just showing. That way I can line it up with the hole I made beforehand. Drive it home. And occasionally it will split these just by driving without pre-drilling. But when you're making a 200 cell board, it's a lot of drilling. It's a lot of nailing. I figured up about 30 seconds per peg. So take that times 100, that's 300 seconds. That comes out to, see, divide by 60, about 45 minutes, 50 minutes. So there's a lot to it. So I'll finish this up here later and go ahead and show you the demonstration of the vacuum seeder itself. Now it's a little bit later in the day. I got preoccupied. But I want to go ahead and give you a demonstration still. I'm going to use the 200 cell model to do this with. So first, dibbler board. We're marking on the front. Bring that to the front. Center it on top of the tray. And push down. Give it a little wiggle so everything stays put. Bring it back up. Now I've got all my holes punched. Now I bring up the vacuum seeder. Again, we marked front on our tray before we flipped it over, so that way it matches with this, and when it's sitting looking at me, all the fronts are facing me. So my dibbler tray front was this way, my vacuum seeder front's this way. To power it, just using 5-gallon bucket vac, and I drilled a couple holes in the inlet up here to reduce the vacuum pressure, because it's actually high enough it's crushing the tray. I've got one here and I got one I taped over. I drilled the second hole when I was doing raw seed and it turned out really good, but with them both open it wouldn't pick up the pelleted seeds very well. So from here, I hook up the vac and get my seed and pour it out over the top. Try to get enough out there to fill all the holes, and the excess I will pour off into another flat. And we just power it up and go. it over here, give it a couple taps, and there we go. Now one note is, when I drilled the hole for this, I used a hole saw and I ran it backwards. The reason I did that is so the teeth would not catch on this. When you run it backwards, it more burns a hole, so you get a nice flat smooth hole and you don't have to worry about fracturing the plastic. Other than that, perfect seating. One note is that the other 200 cell flats, your regular P200, this is not the same as the Bootstrap Farmer one I'm using. This one is slightly spread out wider, so the dibblers are actually a little bit closer on this one. When you get out to the end, it'll still fit and it probably will work, but that's just one thing to note. When you're building this, make sure to build it for the flats you use most commonly. Other than that, just need to cover this thing up, water it in, throw it in the germination chamber. Hope you all like what you saw here today and thought it was useful. If you did, don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank y'all. Have a good day.